Okay, so now we're starting chapter 11 and you are doing the area of parallelograms and triangles. But it's not just going to be length times width or half base times height. There's going to be a little bit more to it than that. Alright, so don't forget, whenever you are doing the area of a shape, it has to be the perpendicular height. Make sure you've got the perpendicular height and not the slope height. So here's the formula to find the area of parallelogram. Area equals base times height, and again it's the perpendicular height. Alright, well, in example 1 you're finding the perimeter and area. Well, the area is relatively easy because obviously it's just whatever the perpendicular height is times the base, which in this case is 5 times 4, and then unless you are given it, you are just going to add 2 times 10 and plus 2 times 4, which will give you the 28. But the chances are you're not going to be given this measurement here. You're probably going to have to find it. And here's a perfect example. You've got to find the area of it. Well, don't forget the formula is a base times height. Well, you've got the base but you haven't got the height. But again, look for little tricks. The little trick here is that this guy here is 45 degrees. So you know it's going to be 4.25 times root 2. Because don't forget, you cannot have a radical on the bottom. Multiply it by the 15, and that will give you the relative height. Triangles are half base times, and again the perpendicular height. Make sure you've got the perpendicular height. All right, so as you did before in real life example 3, you've got the formula at half base times height. Well, don't forget that it's 7 times the perpendicular height. It's the 9. Whatever you do, don't use the 15. Okay, then that will give you 31.5. And then you do need the 15. In other words, you need to add together all the 3 sides, and that will give you the perimeter. But again, it's not going to be as easy as that. So let's have a look at question number 1. Quote the formula. A equals length times width. Alright, we know the length is 15 and the height is, if you think about it, we need this height here in the red. But look at this triangle again, the number of times I've told you about a 5, 12, 13 triangle. So we don't need to do Pythagoras. You should know that that's a 12. Okay, and that will give 180 inches squared. So make sure you look for these little tricks, 5, 12, 13 triangle. And in example 4, it's not going to be straightforward. We're told that the base is b and that the perpendicular height is b plus 5. So as you can see, you've got a little bit of working to do here. All right. So as you can see, when you substitute in and when you solve this, you actually finish up with a quadratic. Unfortunately, this time you can simplify it using factors. If you can't, obviously you've got to use the quadratic formula. You will finish up with 2 solutions. Well, again, just like last time, you cannot have a negative distance. So b has to be 8, then you can plug it in and then you can do the work. So b would be 8 and the height would be 13. So it's a half 8 times 13, which will give you 52 centimeters squared. Okay, so in example 4 everything was working backwards. So 8 is A equals LB or LW. So you know that the area is 153. You know that the width is 9 or the length is 9, but you don't know what the width is. So all you've got to do is W equals 153 divided by 9. So W is going to equal 16 inches, and it's only distance, so don't go for inches squared.